You are listening to 91.3 WVKR FM Poughkeepsie.
Amol geheir von Chaim Joine. Es ist nicht du, a Sache seine. Geht sich dann in jeden Schabbos in Schiel und dort singt mit der Sage viel. Kakai Jenny, sie ist mein Mädel. Ich geh sich Harim in a Dreidel. Ihre Fieslich und ihre Socken. I tell you people, it's no use talking. Kakai Jenny, a Weile Meut. Hat sich dort bekannt mit Jenny Pessel. Sie wohnt dort in schwuligen Gessel. Sie genommen Fahrrad spazier und dort hat angefangen spielen mit der Kakai Jenny. Sie ist so schön, sie ist süß wie ein Battlefein. Sie schwer als ein Backen, sie gewinnen, das wenn ihr Nuss hört nicht aufzurennen. Jenny Kakai, sie ist so schön. Plötzlich bist du umgekommen in Jennys Tate. Hat gemacht von Chaim Joine a Schmatte. Ist umgekommen, ja bissl zu spät. Chaim Joine ist in Dorten gelegen, sie spreit. Kakai Jenny, sie ist mein Meut. Fahr ihr Brüder, frag ich dem Teut. Bevor ich leg mir schlufen und immer aus dem Sud. Und nehm ich mir a Wanne, als ich hab ich sie im Buch. Kakai Jenny, sie ist mein Meut. Das ist gewesen a schöne Leweihe. Es ist dort gewesen, so zweite Wabreihe. Sie haben gewinkt und sie haben gekluckt. Verwusst weinen sie, als wenn Jenny trugt. Doi Kakai Jenny, sie ist so fein. Kakai Jenny hat gehört a good time. Ich hab dir gegeben meine Brüche, wo's will ich jetzt erzählen, wie mich Sprüche. Jenny Kakai, sie ist so fein. Didn't want to, but you let him. Now you're no miss, you're just a Madam Kakai Jenny. Good luck to you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Laughing with Lizards on WVKR. I'm DJ Boots, aka Aaron Bendich, here to bring you some more Jewish music. You just heard Kakai Jenny, as performed by the Barton brothers. Now, from the time that I signed up to resume my radio program, I was thinking I have to play some Barton brothers songs. And today, in preparing my show, when I was gathering together the Barton brothers and other comedy acts of their era, I realized that there was really just enough Barton Brothers music to make a good hour of radio with it. So that's what I decided to do. So this is going to be a dive into the recorded and released works of the Barton Brothers. I'll be able to fit almost everything that I have access to that they recorded in this hour. And you'll see it's a whole lot of fun. So I'll tell you, Kakai Jenny is a pretty classic song of theirs. It's the name of their probably most circulated compilation record. Joe and Paul meet Kakai Jenny, with a nice illustration of what Kakai Jenny might look like. And for those of you who understand Yiddish, you got a sense of the sort of risque, double entendre laden type of lyricism that they go for in that opening song. Now, in doing my research for this episode, I saw an interesting note in one of these Jewish music type forums or email listservs where Ron Romboy quotes a certain couplet from the song, Ira fiselech and Ira zaken. I tell you people it's no use talking, which is a pretty noticeable line from the song. And he notes that comes directly from a Jacob Jacobs lyric to Oi I Like She, which sung by Aaron Lebedev, of course, a song that I was familiar with, but it didn't click in my head that there's really the same line where he breaks into English in the middle of a song that's otherwise in Yiddish, saying, I tell you people there's no use talking. And I think that the Barton Brothers music is pretty steeped in this kind of this type of reference to other works. You'll hear it in the songs coming up. And, of course, lots of reference to their own works. And that makes listening to all their music, particularly in a 1 hour frame of time, pretty fun. You start to realize, hey, they're talking about Cockeyed Jenny and the Joe and Paul song, and they've got 2 songs called Cut Speech, and they're saying that in other songs, and there's this same musical motifs that come up throughout all of their popular recorded songs, that is. So yeah, and over the course of this episode, you'll get a taste of the stylings of the Barton Brothers. You'll even get a chance to hear some songs that are a little harder to find. I did some digging on the internet, and if I had more time, I would have tried to scrounge up some of their rare records. But in this setting, you'll be able to hear a few songs that would have been otherwise quite difficult for you to come by. So enjoy.
Herr Faberlock,
Was willst du, Schmilzammel?
komm doch her zu dem Mikrofon.
Ich bin schon da.
Ich hab gehört, das ist ein neuer Master von mir.
Ich hab ein Manze von einem Mädel, was heißt Minnie the Flapper.
Minnie de Flappe, dann lass mich schon her, ein paar Wörter.
Ich will dir jetzt erzählen von Minnie the Flapper. Minnie's gewesen ein Meuterschlepper. Sie ist gegangen mit jedem Boy. So die nicht gehabt, ist jetzt, ist Goy.
There shall be a white Christmas. Please don't fence me in.
Minnie ist gegangen zu Chinatown. Essen Chop Suey mit Tony, Mike und Louie. Einmal haben sie ihr dort vernarrt. Sie haben ihr Neber zu Schande gebracht. Oh, Minnie.
The donkey serenade.
Oh, what will your mother say?
Your father's mustache.
Minnie ist gegangen und auf Fort nicht gerät. Ihr Mama schreit, oi, man Minnie wird fett. Sie geht zu a Doktor, sucht, I don't know. Mit dacht sich, Minnie geht huben, aha, heidi ho. No,
The old man's got a shiksa.
no, people are talking.
The rumors are flying.
Minnie's Mama geht darin, sie schreit euch gewollt. Es wehrt ihr heiß und es wehrt ihr kalt. Ich hab ihr geschickt zu College, bei Tag und bei Nacht. Und statt der Diploma hat's mal Souvenir gebracht.
Oh, Minnie.
Bagels and lox delicious, bagels
bagels and lox nutritious, the most famous of all tasty dishes. Bagels and lox are biteful, bagels and lox delightful, much more in demand than kosher knishes. Just take herring and some potatoes, gefilte fish just like Mama made us. We're drooling, no fooling, says yeah. But if you want the right snack for breakfast or a night snack, get your yaks with bagel, lach, and lard. Speak of combinations, ham and eggs or franks and beans, corned beef and cabbage or chopped onions and sardines. Each is a great combination, but the best dish in the nation. Bagels and lox delicious, bagels and lox nutritious, the most famous of all tasty dishes. Bagels and lox are biteful, bagels and lox delightful, much more in demand than kosher knishes. Just take herring and some potatoes, gefilte fish just like Mama made us. We're drooling, no fooling, since I'm yeah. But if you want the right snack for breakfast or a night snack, get your yaks with bagel, lach, and lard. Gee, I suffered plenty while doing 1 to 20. I couldn't eat a thing while doing time. I longed for sour pickle and a schnickel for a nickel, but a nickel for a schnickel cost a dime. You took it on the lam, but the coppers caught you, Sam, and in jail you ate that chazarai called stew. Now on your return, you'll be happy when you learn that we have a very tasty dish for you. You know what? Bagels and lox delicious, bagels and lox nutritious, the most famous of all tasty dishes. Just take herring and some potatoes, gefilte fish just like Mama made us. We're drooling, no fooling, since I'm yeah. But if you want the right snack for breakfast or a night snack, get your yaks with bagel, lach, and lard.
You just heard Minnie the Flapper, followed by Bagels and Lox. Now, Minnie the Flapper is clearly a parody of the classic Minnie the Moocher, as made famous by Cab Calloway, with numerous sort of amusing riffs on the original song, and of course transformed into something that has a total Yiddish flair to it. The second song you heard was Bagels and Lox, which, to my understanding, was part of the Barton Brothers' 1951 Yiddish musical comedy stage review called Bagels and Yaks, which featured them and a handful of other notable performers of the sort of Yiddish type stage. It played on Broadway for about half a year. It toured the country. To my understanding, it was poorly reviewed by the sort of big theatrical related publications. But I did find a good review of it from the Harvard Crimson of all places, which was interesting to read. Now I've got some of the promotional materials for the show handy, and I'll read some of the text from it. Let's see. In front of me now I have the one of the touring performance flyers, in which there's some quotes. "You haven't heard such laughter and applause in a long time. Don't miss it." From Coleman, writer for the New York Mirror. And if laughter and applause is a sure measure of appreciation, Bagels and Yaks is a greater show than South Pacific, says George Clark of the Boston Sun. Yeah, they couldn't get quotes from the more popular publications in New York because it was poorly reviewed there. But we don't care about popular taste. Let's see if there's any other good quotes. 60 laughs a minute, says the Boston Globe. Hey, that's a pretty substantial one. I guess it was better reviewed in Boston than in New York. Well, I guess I'll keep up with the these songs. There's plenty more to play. I hope you're enjoying it. Thank you very much.
This is the story of Little Red Riding Hood.
Kinderlach, you've heard of the Grüne Casino. You've heard of Little Boy Blue. And of course you've heard of Willie Mays. Now let me tell you about the kleine Mädel mit der roten Knädel, Kladel.
As our scene opens, Little Red Riding Hood is seen walking through the forest with a bag of groceries under her arm for Grandma.
I'm gonna see the booby, I'm gonna see the booby, and if I meet the big bad wolf, ooh, look at that cute animal. I think I'll go over and give him a pet. Ooh, he's so cute. Maybe I'll give him a couple of pets. I think it must be our lamb, Pussycat. Hello, Catzilla. How's what you ever think?
Oh, she got a wrong number. Ich will her bald zerreißen auf Stücke. Hi, you babe. What have you got there in the säckel?
It's none of your chazrische business.
Maybe you'd like to go for a spazier with me, hmm?
My mommy told me to be good, to be good, to be good. My mommy told me to be good, so Mr. Echadichem good.
No. Okay, Toots. No hard feelings. By the way, wie wohnt die Bubba?
Well, it's like this. You walk straight down until you come to a bark. You walk 50 paces and then you come to, you should excuse me, a fork in the road. Now don't go ahead to the left and don't go ahead to the right. Just walk straight ahead till you come to a candy store, and that's where lives the booby.
The Bubba lives in the candy store?
Oh no, in the back from the candy store. But the lady from the candy store always calls the booby to the phone.
Oh, I think I know your Bubba. Say, cooking you. How's about I should slap along with you? You don't have to be afraid. I won't fear you.
I beg your pardon, what you said?
For fear. For fear.
For fear? Oh no, but maybe for 5.
For 5. Who do you think you are, Goldilocks?
Goldilocks? She's such a yente.
Maidela, I've been in these woods many years now, and I've been with Goldilocks, Miss Muffet. I've had a few laughs with Humpty Dumpty, with Little Bo Peep, and also her sheep.
But I thought Bo Peep was little Jack Horner's girl.
Na, geht in mit dem Schäpsele.
I can see Mister as the teugst in der.
I know, but I pay like a tata. Bye.
Bye. Don't take any wooden krepler.
So long, Toots. I'll catch up with you later.
That's what you think. I'm gonna see the booby. I'm gonna see the booby. Mary had a little lamb, but it ain't gonna happen to me. Yeah. Oh, here's the booby's house. I think I'll ring the bell. Oh, darling, they're playing our song. What's keeping you, booby? She must be looking for hot now.
Come in, Marmalade.
Hoi, booby, you sound so hazerig. You don't look so good, Eppes. This is like wie a wilde Haie.
I can't understand it. I just came from the beauty parlor. To tell you the truth, you're no Goldilocks either.
Again with the Goldilocks? Oh, I'd love to report her to the union, that price cutter. Hoi, booby, what big eyes you have. Just like Mama's matzo balls.
They're better to look on you, my little auction.
Hoi, booby, what a big nose you have. Just like one of Nathan's hot dogs.
They're better to smell you with, my little Frankfurter roll.
And hoi, booby, what a big mouth you have.
Better to make a tell from you. And with that, the big bad wolf jumped out of bed, and Little Red Riding Hood screamed.
Ah! Anyone for tennis? Ooh, what a racket you got.
Goldilocks likes it. So now, kid, what do you say, Fafir?
Oh no, not for 4. I told you, for 4, nicht mit mir. For 3, verdreitet an eigenem Kopf. But for 10, you say when.
And all this time, Dear old grandma was lying under the bed, quivering with fear for her little granddaughter. And finally she summoned up courage, leaned her head out from under the bed, and said these immortal words that will tug at the heart of each and every child listening to this fairy tale. Herr Zachain, Kind meiner, ich bin ein bisschen älter von dir. If you can't take 10, take 4. And that's the story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf.
This is the end, but not mine.
And now, a PSA. Health insurance information, counseling, and assistant program. Dutchess County's OFA volunteer HIICAP counselors provide free, unbiased information and help you learn about Medicare and Medicaid, Medigap policies, Medicare Advantage plans, long-term care insurance, low-income subsidy programs, and other insurance programs available in Dutchess County. Call 845-486-2555 to make your appointment for remote counseling. The NYS HICAP hotline, 800-701-0501.
Leben ich, wir gehen lachen und Freilach, wir gehen machen. Wir sind in Schein, a wieder du, wir gehen auf die Erde. Wir suchen jetzt to you and you, now don't you be a square. Wir haben neue Sponsors, as I heard of mir and of say. Dreht sich und schockelt sich, Welt, wir bleiben jung, it's good for everything. Lacht sich und taubt sich und holt sich, kauft a neue Mien, leave the dishes in the sink. Hot speech.
Mamas, teure Mamas, pistol-packing Mamas. Als ein Mann rief doch über der Nacht, na sucht sich, Darling, ich kann nicht an dahin kommen für Supper. Ich habe ein Meeting von der Lodge. Oh, ihr seht ein paar Skidner, Ligner. Geht weg in ein Hotel. Dort trefft eine schöne kleine Blonde. Sie gehen auf upstairs, setzen sich weg in den Raum und fangen an zu spielen Gin Rummy. Sie knackt mit ein paar Points, knackt mit ein paar Points. Na, so Mamas knacken sie beide weg, eine ganze Nacht.
Dreht sich und schockelt sich, Welt, wir bleiben jung, it's good for everything. Lacht sich und taubt sich und holt sich, kauft a neue Mien, leave the dishes in the sink. Hot speech.
Männer, als ihr habt sich auf eine Früh, ihr könnt nicht gehen zu der Arbeit, sitzt euch mit dem Kopf, es brecht nach der Places, was ihr darf tun, ist Exercises. Euer Weib rief nach schon AK, eure Kinder riefen nach schon Old Man, eure Freund riefen nach schon dem Seger, Pfarrei bereichischen 6:30, kommt darauf zum Moishes Muscles Emporium. Wir wollen auch machen, jink mit verschiedenen Exercises. Jetzt als Satisfied Customer besteht über dem Mikrofon Mr. Blair. Mr. Blair sucht die Menschen, wo sie die gekriegen von unseren Exercises.
Ich hab gekriegt nach Killer. Dreht sich und schockelt sich, Welt, wir bleiben jung, it's good for everything. Lacht sich und taubt sich und holt sich, kauft a neue Mien, leave the dishes in the sink.
Jetzt haben wir doch gemacht, lebendig, es dreht sich über, wird man auch machen, Freilich. Mames, als ein Mann setzt sich weg bei der Nachtessen Supper. Fuß geht drin zum Essen. Ihr sollt mal entschuldigen, Black Market Meatballs. Mamas nimmt Käfen sein Gesind, geht runter in der Butcher Shop und kauft den Mother Brannigan's Kosher Meatballs. Und vielleicht ist ein Mann ein umrieker Schlupper. A ganze Nacht, hebt sich und dreht sich. Mama, es geht immer so 6 Balls aufsetzen. Wird sich nicht mehr heben, wird sich nicht mehr drehen. Wird liegen dort ein Teut.
Hey, sich and dreht sich and schockelt sich wel, wir bleiben ihn, it's good for everything. Lacht sich and tapt sich and holt sich, kauft an I mean, leave the dishes in the sink. Ah, sweet.
Männer, weißt ihr, als ein Mann Ayid, darf nicht schuben Kaffees. Als wenn wird geboren, halt man ihn. Wenn geht zu der Kippe, fährt man ihn. Wenn starbt, huckt man ihn. In sein Schicksal kriegt
Dreht sich and dreht sich and schockelt sich wel, wir bleiben ihn, it's good for everything. Lacht sich and tapt sich and holt sich, kauft an I mean, leave the dishes in the sink. Ah,
Mama, es hat ihre junge Tochter in der Heim, 15, 16 Jahre alt, wo es trug zum Vater mit Lipstick und dreht sie mit den Händen, als er verblondierte Katschke. Sie sucht sich, als geht machen Homework bei einer Girlfriend. Mama, es ist nur so liegen. Sie geht weg in der Paramount Theater. Dort steht ein ausgedachter, ausgehicketer Flocken, wo singt sich ein Liederl im Titel Mäusche deckte Ziedefies, sich wer das Stück. Es nimmt sich gar 5 Minuten im Tizierer ein Schabbucher mit den langen Jackets und den kurzen Kopf und zwingt sich eine Toilet Chain. Gibt ihr eine neue Zigarette auf dem Markt, was heißt Maharaja. Mama, sie versmuckt dem Zigarette, es nimmt sich gar 5 Minuten, wird sie sein ein Mellow Ketzel. Wat sie wird euch sehen, als war Bialystok Plätzel.
Hey, sich and dreht sich and schockelt sich wel, wir bleiben ihn, it's good for everything. Lacht sich and tapt sich and holt sich, kauft an I mean, leave the dishes in the sink. That's all.
Hello again. Before the PSA, you heard the story of Little Red Riding Hood, one of the more rare recordings that's included in this program today. That's, of course, a sort of racy parody of the classic children's story from an LP called Yiddish American Comedy Songs, though it was also released as just Yiddish Comedy Songs, featuring one side of them doing 3 sort of story songs, each about 6 minutes long, and on the other side was Irving Kaufman and his musical schmoes performing a handful of really fun songs that I'll find another week to play those. But then after the PSA, you got Cut Speech 1 and Cut Speech 2, which is the parody radio experience with little musical numbers and spoken advertisements with, of course, not normal radio type advertisements, but parodying the classic Jewish radio advertisements, which leads me into perhaps the Barton Brothers' most remembered song, most popular song, Joe and Paul, which I'll play for you, Joe and Paul, parts 1 and 2, and then afterwards I'll play something from the Yiddish American Radio Project with Henry Sapoznik talking with one of the Barton brothers about the story behind Joe and Paul, and it'll give you some additional insight into this whole program by getting to hear one of the Barton brothers years later in his own words. Enjoy.
WVVD.
Hey, Baba, Reba.
Ja, bye, ja, bye, ja, bye, WVVD.
Boys and me sister.
Ja, bye, ja, bye, ja, bye, ja, bye. Every Sunday morning over WVVD.
bargaining. Joe and Paul's making a bargain kriegen, a suit, a coit, a gabardine. Bringt an a kleinem Sinn.
God, speech.
I get für ihr morgen euch, meine liebe Radio-Zuhörers. Wir bringen jetzt das Programm von Joe and Paul's for some 3 stores. The race store is located in Stendalency in downtown Manhattan. The zweite store is located in Hunts Point, Southern Boulevard in the Bronx. And the dritte store is located in Pitkin Avenue, Bronzeville, Brooklyn. Hot hier aber mit für Ingelo, was da oben a Slacksuit, a Two-Tone, a reversible slick, a herringbein, a jacket, a verhäusen, a Miami Chevette, a Bronx Sharpie, a Brooklyn Truth. Bringt sie mal rein, sie.
Joe and Paul's a bargaining. Joe and Paul's making a bargain kriegen, a suit, a coit, a gabardine. Bringt an a kleinem Sinn.
God, speech.
Mames, hat ihr ein jüngerer Boy in daheim, a ju 14, 15 Jahre alt, was beachten zu seiner Burlesque-Show. Kauft schon French Postal Cards. Kommt daheim, geht ran in der Bathroom, macht sie die Tiere, macht sie noch. Oh. Mames, zieht mir ein Teufel und gibt dem Boy a Putuler. Und schickt ihn mal rein zu Kakai Jenny. Und als man weiß nicht, wie das ist fragt ein Mann, kennt schon das Platz sehr gut.
Joe and Paul's a bargaining. Joe and Paul's making a bargain kriegen, a suit, a coit, a gabardine. Bringt an a kleinem Sinn.
Aber wilt nach, es nimmt sich dem Raketen, dreht sich rüber.
God, speech.
Wir bringen jetzt 5 Minuten von der Howard Shoe Programm. Wir wollen wissen, hat ihr gleiche Fies? Willt ihr haben Krimme Fies? Trug der Howard Shoe. Wir kennen nicht, wie sie walkt, und wir kennen nicht, wie sie redt. Wir wollen wissen, eine Sache, sie schmeckt euch von den Fies. Willt ihr eure Vier, macht auf die Windes und nicht immer alle während der Stick.
Joe and Paul's a bargaining. Joe and Paul's making a bargain kriegen, a suit, a coit, a gabardine. Bringt an a kleinem Sinn.
God, speech.
Welke Salzers auf der Luft? Ihr habt sich auf in der Früh. Komm, wo sie kennt raus vom Bett. Ihr wogt sich also ein paar Meile heran in der Bathroom und ihr steht dort und kickt sich getun in den Spiegel. Oi, sind Tieren dreht. Ihr steht dort und ihr blickt raus die Zink. Die Zinker der Weiß, ha? Ihr blickt noch einmal raus die Zink. Wo sind ihr am Maschine? Ihr steht dort und der Kopf dreht sich. Die Hände hier nach beide Pies fallen nach ein. Nehmt der Balkensalze. Aber ihr fühlt nicht besser. Es tut mir ein Teufel, tut euch ein Teufel. Macht auf die Windes und warft sich bald heraus.
Joe and Paul's a bargaining. Joe and Paul's making a bargain kriegen, a suit, a coit, a gabardine. Bringt an a kleinem Sinn.
God, speech.
Es kommt ein Mann heim spät bei Nacht von einer schweren Tag Arbeit. Ist sehr miet. Arbeitet bei der Non-Union Biscuit Company. Ist dort und rief das a Cookie-Tapper. Den ganzen Tag geht in tappt Cookies. Ist sehr ein ewiger Jink. Smuckt 8, 9 Päckchen Zigaretten a Tug. Bei der Nacht, sie legt sich schluppen, lässt sich nicht schluppen. Die ganze Nacht, hießt und hocket und hießt. Mames nimmt Kehr von sein Hies. Geht runter in den Drugstore und kauft ihm ein Bottle Moskowitzes Castor Oil. Geht ihm also ein Bottle Eis zu trinken und glaubt mir ein paar Stunden später wird Meure haben zu hießen.
Joe and Paul's a bargaining. Joe and Paul's making a bargain kriegen, a suit, a coit, a gabardine. Bringt an a kleinem Sinn.
If Mitchell Levitsky was the most famous advertising voice on Yiddish radio, then the most famous commercial by far was a little jingle written for a low-rent clothing store named Joe and Paul. Joe and Paul was opened in 1912 by a man named Paul Kovsky. There never actually was a Joe. Apparently, someone had told Kovsky that people would trust him more if they thought he had a partner. In the 1930s, Paul Kofsky asked composer Sholem Secunda, the man who wrote by Mir Bistashane, to write a jingle for his store. Secunda played the piano and Paul sang it himself. This is the first time that this commercial has been broadcast in more than half a century.
Joe en Paul, a store vaar knieken, brabberilla Joe en Paul, dat weet je bully kriegen, brabberilla zoet, a koud, a gieten zolle perfect, a feten daft hier, kuifen, nor bij Joe en Paul.
Joe and Paul, a store, a pleasure. Joe and Paul, you'll find a bargain there. A suit, a coat, everything's perfect. I tell you, you have to shop at Joe and Paul. And that was it. Short, to the point, and permanently implanted in the consciousness of listeners to Yiddish radio who heard the jingle again and again and again. One of these listeners was a young comedian named Aaron Schwat, later known as Red Buttons.
Well, we used to hang around the cafeterias in the 30s. It was Kellogg's Cafeteria on 49th Street. It was a cafeteria for the small-time guys. So we'd sit around the table, Jewish kids, we were first-generation Americans, and we fell in love with Joe and Paul Safaganagin. Number one, it was funny. Number two was musical, you know, and it was catchy. It was a very, very catchy refrain, Joe, Paul Safag. I mean, there was something about it that had a little chen, you know, had a little heart to it. So we used to tap it off on the tables, you know, yum, bum, bum, ba, ba, yum, bum, bum. And I just started to play around with it, and it caught on immediately.
Red Buttons had worked up a parody of the Joe and Paul commercial and Yiddish radio in general, which he took up with him to the Jewish resorts in the Catskills. His audience loved it. But it was wartime. When Buttons got called up into the service, a young vaudeville duo named the Barton brothers appropriated his skit and then recorded it for the fledgling Apollo label.
WBVD.
Hey, Bob, Bob.
Eddie Barton is the surviving Barton brother.
We recorded it, and we got $250, and we ran out of town. We thought we stole $250.
I send me sister.
The song, however, became a hit. A big, big, big hit.
We're out of town about 5 or 6 months, and I get a call from the agent. He says, listen, what are you doing out of town? He says, we've sold about 750,000 records. I said, you've sold 750,000 of what records? He says, the records you made.
Joe and Paul Safarganing.
Joe and Paul, a pleasure.
Joe and Paul.
Joe and Paul, you can find a bargain. Bring in your young son.
What speech?
And then you would hear my brother talk.
Good
Good morning, dear radio listeners, to the Joe and Paul clothing stores. If you have a bar mitzvah boy who needs a slack suit, a two-tone, a reversible slicker, a herringbone, a Miami Charvette, a Bronx Sharpie, a Brooklyn Droop, bring them in. We played Carnegie Hall. We were at Madison Square Garden with 40,000 people sitting out in the audience, and we got a standing ovation. We killed it. They got such a big kick out of it.
What speech?
Mothers, if you have a young boy about 14, 15 years old who likes to go to burlesque shows, he's already buying French postcards. He comes home, he goes in the bathroom, he closes the door behind him, and you hear, mothers, do yourself a favor, do him a favor. Give that boy a couple of bucks and send him to Cockeye Jenny. And if you don't know where it is, ask your husband. He's been a satisfied customer for years.
And that's commercials on Yiddish radio. This is Henry Sapoznik. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program.
That's all.
Here's a PSA for you. Social Security announces 1.3% benefit increase for 2021. Social Security and Supplemental Security Income, SSI, benefits for approximately 70 million Americans will increase 1.3% in 2021. Social Security Administration announced this recently. Social Security and SSI beneficiaries are normally notified by mail starting in early December about their new benefit amount. Most people who receive Social Security payments will be able to view their COLA notice online through their personal My Social Security account. Many may create or access their My Social Security account online at www.socialsecurity.gov/myaccount. Information about Medicare changes for 2021, when announced, will be available at www.medicare.gov. For Social Security beneficiaries receiving Medicare, Social Security will not be able to compute their new benefit amount until after the Medicare premium amounts for 2021 are announced. Final 2021 benefit amounts will be communicated to beneficiaries December, and that will come through the mailed COLA notice and My Social Security's message center. The Social Security Act provides for how the COLA is calculated. To read more, please visit www.socialsecurity.gov/COLA. Thank you.
Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April, year 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year.
Herzlich ein, meine teure Kinderlach. Ich will euch jetzt erzählen der Meise von einer jüdischen Beutschig, was hat geheißen Paul Rabinowitz. Es ist gewesen 2 Tage bevor Pesach, in the year 1776, alle Beschulen. Sie nicht du ein jüdischer Mensch, was kann vergessen dem Tag, haben wir gehabt Zures.
Paul Revere was ready to spread the alarm through every village, hamlet, and farm. The moment the British began to march, he would hang a lantern in the belfry arch of the church, for 1 if by land and 2 if by sea.
Paul, oi Paul, that boy Paul, hat ausgefunden, als die Redcoats, die British, die alte Kackners, haben gewollt sich hereingaben in die Catskills to make a program en aushargen an alle Jiden. A finstere Bruch soll sie treffen. Paul hat nicht gewusst, wie soll die Ganoven, die Murderers, willen sich hereingaben. He didn't know if they were coming by the George Washington Bridge or they were going to take the short line bus. Hat gesucht zu sein Freund Motor. Die stellt sich weg in Hoboken. Als wollen kommen bei der Ferry, wirst du aufhängen, 1 Jahr Zeit Lechtel in der Synagogue. Als wollen kommen bei der Bridge, wirst du raushängen 2 Jahr Zeit Lechtel. Und als wollen nicht kommen im Ganzen, sollst du sich allein aufhängen.
He waited for hours through thunder and rain. His horse rolled his eyes while he patted his mane. He watched the church with an eager glance. 2 lights in the steeple began to dance. Paul jumped on his horse, began to ride, to warn the people of the countryside.
Es ist gewesen eine finstere Nacht. Und mein Boy Paul hat gesitzt und getracht. Es hat gedinnet und geblitzt. Und Paul hat geschwitzt. Hat sich gedreht, das Pferd hat sich gedreht, 2 zerdrehte Menschen. Ho, 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 ho! Blitzling hat gesehen, als 2 Lichter brennen, and he jumped on his horse.
They're off.
And sei Leifman Träder an Jackie O'Hara, a Gunnefer Mörderer. Oh ja, Bruch, das ist schon ein anderer Meise.
He rode through Concord, through Lexington town, through Charleston, through Boston, uptown and down. His horse galloped madly, the sparks flew in his flight. The fate of a nation was riding that night. And as they sped through the dark, the one shout you did hear, "Comrades, to arms, the British are here!"
Oh, is that so? The British are here. A Brandsee in der Jassels. Paul ist gelaufen through Pitkin Avenue. Bensonhurst, Maschula Parkway, Yonkers Raceway. Yonkers Raceway? Sollen sie euch et liegen in Dreher? Route 17, der Red Apple, ein for a hot dog. Monroe, Tuxedo, euer Bruch verloren hat 3 for section. Oi Paul was hot, the horse was hot. He had a hot horse. A hot horse should be at Jamaica.
The results of the 6th race are now official.
Oi native dancer bezahlt $5.80, 4,40. Nu stapper er mit der Racetracks. A ganze Nacht hat gelaufen through Monticello, Fallsburg, Loch Sheldrake. Hat geschrien ein Sach, Rumänien, Rumänien. Kapsachow, Sam, Maris, Velvo, Heathcliff. Hat für ihm zu bauen sich mit der Weiber. Behalt die Mink stolz. Lass man gehen aushagen in die Chevre.
As he rode and warned them through the night, every townsman and farmer was ready to fight. You know the rest in the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, then crossing the field to emerge again, under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load.
The Menschen realized what was going on, so the manufacturers, the furriers, the hotel owners, the waiters, the busboys, the lousy social directors, the bellhops put on their trusses. We were ready. We were hip to the larceny. Paul said, don't fire till you see the whites of their gatkis. Then the British fired the first volley of cannonballs. Balls they're throwing at us. We'll give them balls. Wir haben sie gegeben Volleyballs, Basketballs, Baseballs, Matzeballs. Blood ran like borscht. With policies hat man sie ausgestochen die Augen. Then the Miles went to work and cut them to pieces. Go ahead and start up. Then we brought out our secret weapon. We hit them in the hinten with last season's bagels. We smeared them with cream cheese. We made from them a regular Hiroshima. Balls they'll throw at us.
And that is why we remember the famous midnight ride of Paul Revere. Git Yontiv.
That was The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere as performed by the Barton brothers. Very silly one there. Another one of those rare, hard to find story song hybrid type things they did on that split record with Irv Kaufman. And this, it's a very goofy song to say the absolute least. With the English being the sort of standard Paul Revere story and the Yiddish being just the totally wacky, goofy, New York-centric narrative. I really enjoyed hearing these after having looked for them for a long time. It's great to share them with you all. So next up, I wanted to play the third song from that split record, which is called Mambo Moishe. But taking a closer listen to it, I thought there was some of the jokes in English were a little unsavory for the radio. So then I thought, okay, they've got this other sort of rumba type song that was, all kind of similar type of jokes. And I listened to that one, and there were just a couple of jokes that were a little too unsavory for the radio. And I didn't want to censor them or edit them, but they're worth listening to. Nothing too out of line. We try to keep the raunchiness in Yiddish on this show. So here is the last of the readily available Barton Brothers tunes. Another two-parter, side A, side B, from a 78 single. This one's a little noisy on the recording, of Tsuris. So enjoy.
Hello, Melvin. Hello, Douglas. What's the matter? You don't look so good. I frage nicht, geplantet Zures.
What's this?
Heint bin ich gegangen auf eine Walk, sie kommen zu mir 4 größte Gesinnte, Holdobnikes. Sie haben gesucht, gib her das Geld.
Hast du gegeben?
Ja, kränk sei verwell. Hier ist ein paar scharfste Sleeves. Und hier ist auch genommen zu die 4 größte Gesinnte, Holdobnikes.
Und was ist geschehen?
Was ist geschehen? Ob ich gehabt, Patch-Hass mit verschiedenen Hargets.
Heut Zures, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut Zures,
das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Hey, Lucky.
Lucky, what I'm lucky. Gestern geh ich bei Work. Geht in front of mir a schön Weibele. Geh ich zieht sie dir so Mrs. Hey, mir kennen leben, wat mir lost nicht.
Was hat sie gesagt?
Mister, wenn mir lost kennt ihr?
Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär. Mein älteste Tochter Reisel ist sehr ein größer Narr. Sie liebt sich mit der Dentist, hat a Packet Car. Und soon hat sie a Cavity, sie helft ihr nicht kein Tropfen. Ein Expert Dentist wie ist, they say wie uns zu stoppen. Heut so das, in der ganzen Welt. Der Schatten hat mich aufgenacht und ich will auf mein Geld. Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Wolke wein Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Hey, Lucky.
Hey, rauf mit dem Lucky, what I'm lucky. Eigentlich free, aber vergruben mein Weib.
You don't say. Well, tomorrow you'll go out into the world. You'll live again, laugh again, love again. You must love again.
I know, but what am I gonna do tonight?
Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volke wein Geld, bin ich ein Millionär. Mein Weib, sie schreit, als ich bin, schon mehr nicht ging. Sie schickt mir zu a Doktor, to fix up everything. Der Doktor schuckelt mit sein Kopf und sucht, I'm sorry, Lou. Als was gewehen ist schon mehr nicht du. Heut so das, in der ganzen Welt. Der Schatten hat mich gut genaht, denn ich will auf mein Geld. Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volk mein Geld, denn ich ein Millionär.
Lucky, what I'm lucky. Hab jetzt gehört, da gibt er meiste zu erzählende Menschen. Darf mich in überdrehen im Racket.
Hey, Lucky.
Lucky, what I'm lucky. Komm, ich hab's gut gesaved, a Putule. Hab es Hand gekauft, a Suit mit 2 Paar Häusen. Aber ich hatte eine Fee, verbrennt ein Loch in dem Jacket.
Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Hey, Lucky.
Warte mit dem Lucky, what I'm lucky. Yesterday I'm bending over in the street, along comes a taxi, gives me a shot and I'm laying in the hospital for 6 weeks.
Could be wise.
Could be wise. I come out of the hospital, I find my wife is gone, my children is gone, the furniture's in the street.
It could be wise.
Could be wise. I'm bending over in the street, along comes the same taxi, gives me another shot, I'm back in the hospital.
Could be wise.
Could be wise? What could be wise?
Could happen to me.
Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Ich bin a weg auf a vacation, a bissl sich aufzurien, en a so wie a jinge boy, hab sich gesicht was zu tun. Finster ist gewehen, wenn ich hab umgetappt die Figur. Ich bin verklärt, ich lieg gerät, von der Figur ist mein Schwieger.
Heut so das, in der ganzen Welt. Der Schatten hat mich gut genaht, und ich will auf mein Geld. Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Hey, Lucky.
Warte mit dem Lucky, what I'm lucky. Geh mir heim von der Arbeit, treff ich mal Frau mit einem anderen Mann in dem Living Room. Er sei besiegt, das seht mir, das ist schnell heim. Geh rauf upstairs und mach ins Koffee.
Hast du gemacht Koffee bei ihm heute?
Ich hab mir Drachen sein eigener Koffee.
Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Heut so das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Mein Jenny liebt am Musikant, der Maestros kennen alle. Ist ein Künstler auf a Fiddle und sie will sein a Kalle. Oh, jeder soll schön kalt sein Technik, so biges Leuchten, muss mit sein Fiddle spielen, wenn sein Schmidt ist angefeucht.
Heut so das, keiner hat nicht mehr. Das Volk gewinnt Geld, bin ich ein Millionär.
Well, there you have it. All of the digitally available Barton Brothers songs, save for a couple I couldn't play on air. And some context from that audio documentary that I played before. And I hope you enjoyed listening to these songs. I certainly did. So in my search for this music, I found some interesting materials related to their career, including this blurb from the back of the Jewish Comedy Songs record, which was later re-released as the Joe and Paul Meet Cockeyed Jenny record. So I'll read to you from the back of the record. If laughs were money, this album of Yiddish humor could make you rich. As it stands, however, laughs only bring money to comedians. To audiences, they bring something even more valuable, a lightness and brightness that makes life more enjoyable. In their way, the Barton Brothers and their Jewish comedy songs have been chasing gloom and giving pleasure to audiences from Miami to the Catskills to 2nd Avenue for quite a few years. First introduced on records a while back, the recording of Joe and Paul based on an ad off of the famous Jewish radio was an instantaneous success and was instrumental in making these performances dear to fans of Yiddish merriment. The country over. Other records followed, all greeted with substantial response, all very successful. If asked for favorites, we'd say that Joe and Paul and Cockeyed Jenny really have that certain something to start the laughter flowing. But in truth, all these songs abound with humor that tickles the funny bone and are equally pleasing. They would have to be, for this is top entertainment of its kind. This LP is equally serviceable for family listening or giving any social gathering that special glow. Whatever your mood, the combination of Fralick sounds, plentiful humor, and rollicking rhythms will make the time spent with the Barton Brothers a delightful experience to repeat again and again. Now, I'd have to differ, I guess, on the appropriate for the whole family, but perhaps the children who don't understand Yiddish might get away without being corrupted by these songs. Well, besides these recordings, I was also able to find a 20-minute long audio drama that parodies the McCarthy hearings, but I didn't have time to play that on air. And I don't believe they wrote that, but they do appear as actors in it, and it's quite funny. Perhaps something for another time. Or if not, I'll share it on the internet somehow or another. It's worth hearing. That one's called Mr. Chairman, A Point of Order. Really, I hope you enjoyed this show. I'll be on again next week, and if you wanna talk about this, if you have any points of interest on the topic, feel free to email me at aaronbendich@gmail.com, aaronbendich@gmail.com. And lastly, in preparation for this show, I considered playing a cover version of Joe and Paul. You know, there are a handful out there. So I thought it only appropriate to play this particular cover of Joe and Paul that was actually recorded just yesterday. So enjoy it, have a wonderful week, and thanks for listening.
Joe and Paul, to the far Jenny, Joe and Paul, la 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 la, la 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 la. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Joe and Paul, la 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 la. Joe and Paul, la 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 la, la 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 la. You are listening to 91.3. WVKR FM Poughkeepsie.